Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor be unto Yahawah, Yahawashi, Rawchaa Qadash. It's your brother Malcolm coming at you with another lesson in truth. All right, giving double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS, who are the true leaders of all Israel on earth today. Salutations to my fellow Akim, the workforce of Yahawah Yahawashi, that are out on the four corners of this earth doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so. All right, to you I say shalom, and to the confusion of face Akim that are joined unto our ranks, and the Yahawash that are listening and learning. This is a video. See if I can pull out a little bit, and it's called White Farmers Slaughtered in South Africa, with Lauren Southern and Stefan Malinu. Okay? And what we're about to see is them talk about the curses that are now starting to fall upon the so-called white man. All right? And the violence part isn't falling on them in America as it is here in South Africa, but the poverty is. So they're starting to be poverty-stricken. The curses are a little different here in America. This opioid problem, the heroin problem, and you had some weird problem with water, what was making a bunch of middle-aged women just drop dead, and the doctors were baffled trying to figure out what was happening. But let's get a quick scripture. This is Deuteronomy 30 and 7. For some reason, I always want to make it Jeremiah, but it's Deuteronomy 30 and 7. And it reads, "And Yahawah thy power will put all these curses upon thy enemies and upon them that hate thee and which persecute thee." Now, granted, you know, they're mainly dealing with Hamites over there in Africa. And there are millions of Israelites, millions upon millions of Israelites mixed in with those Africans, man. All right? Because he does mention something about the Bantu, but the Bantu, he's saying from the north, but the Bantu actually came from West Africa, if I'm not mistaken. All right? And the majority of the so-called Africans in West Africa are different from the ones in South Africa. All right? Even though Jacob is spread all throughout Africa, but the big bulk of the West Africans were Israelites that fled. When you look at the mountains, I just watched a video when they were showing the terrain when you're leaving Egypt. When you look to the west, all you see is mountain ranges. And that is what Yahawashi was talking about when he said, "Flee ye into the mountains." And that's what millions of Israelites did. It's actually documented in history. You could get Rudolph R. Windsor's book, From Babylon to Timbuktu, which Timbuktu was just in the headlines, how they were over there destroying historical records and stuff because they're trying to hide these things. All right. But to make a long story short, so we can get this video going, is that you can see how these Edomites dismiss what they did and what they've done, and that and what's happening to them is what they did in order to get the land. As a matter of fact, every place where they are in the world, what they're suffering from is actually what they've done. And now it's starting to fall back upon them. So let's let it go.
And Molyneux, hope you're doing well. Here with Lauren Southern. Now, she, of course, as you know, I'm sure, an independent journalist and the author of Barbarians, How the Baby Boomers, Immigration, and Islam Screwed My Generation. You can find her on YouTube and on Twitter at twitter.com/Lauren_Southern. Lauren, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Of course, it's a grim topic, but we need to stare at it as what's going on currently in South Africa and, I guess, address people's concerns about the declining population of whites in the West compared to other cultures, other races, other ethnicities, other religions, for a possible glimpse what happens when whites slide into the minority. So where did you...
Truth of the matter is, so-called whites, which is a made-up lie. And see, Esau speaks with great dignity and pride upon false pretenses, as we're very well aware of now through the videos that I've done on the work of Dr. Jacqueline Badalora and Dr. Robin DiAngelo, Theodore Allen, and many others that the white race is a made-up construct, and there was no one on the planet Earth that was referred to as white prior to 1681. All this, so all the history that's tied in with it, the Darwinism that's tied with it, and the way that they even connected it to the Bible. All right, because they still try to apply Darwinism to the Bible when you're dealing with so-called white Christians, because they're still trying to use Mongoloid, Negroid, and Caucasoid and apply it to the Bible and apply that to Ham, Shem, and Japheth. So it's all theories and lies. And theory is exactly that. It's just a made up lie, an educated guess. There's not facts in it. All right, it's just all lies. And, you know, I'm not going to go into that subject. The videos have been done. You can look up Dr. Battalora's, Dr. Jacqueline Battalora and Dr. Robin D'Angelo on that subject matter, and they will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that what I just said is true. Okay? And the truth be said, the so-called white man is a minority and always has been. The majority of the world is, the rest of the world is brown. They're the only ones that are walking around without melanin, and they're the people of the curse as spoken of in Isaiah the 34th chapter, because they cannot go into the sun. The sun actually destroys and kills them. High cases of skin cancer in South Africa, high cases of skin cancer deaths in Australia, and in the land of Israel. Why? Because these people, they're that cursed people, man. All right? So the truth of the matter is they are the minorities, and they always have been. Okay? But they were the ones who were put in power, as the Bible said. All right? He said that he would give over the earth the bases of men. So he's going to make the lowest man the ruler of the earth, and that was punishment to the people who should be ruling. Who are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans? That he has this weak red pale. As you look at his face, he's clearly not white. The backdrop behind him is white, and his skin is red. We just had a fake Jew say that on the line just yesterday. He held his hand out and said, it's red. He's like, yeah, it is. Okay, but let's let it go.
You first hear about what was going on in South Africa, and what piqued your interest most?
It was probably about a year ago. I started kind of hearing whispers online. Nothing in the mainstream media, nothing on the news. It was just kind of tweets here and there, people saying, Lauren, you got to check this out. You got to check this out. Murder here, massacre here.
And the reason that be is because the so-called white man does not want to look weak. And like that scripture says, have you become now as weak as we? Because you have a section of people being massacred, and they don't want the rest of their people to know about it, man. All right? And the ones that do are the ones who are picking up arms everywhere else. All right? Because Europe is next, and then so will America. Because America is going to break out into horrible race riots, food riots, famine, and all that stuff, man. And in the midst of all that is going to be those race riots. Okay? That's scriptural. But you have to remember, the media is used to propagate the false narrative that the so-called white man is doing well wherever he is. And that clearly is in the fact. And Lauren's making that, making that clear.
Just little whispers of a growing problem in South Africa. And I decided to contact someone you actually have had on your show before, Simon Roche, the head of a group called Sightlanders, who are the largest non-military defense force in the world, I believe. And
So non-military defense force. Basically, this is just muscle that comes in and violently defends stolen land.
I planned to go 9 months ago to South Africa, but something came up and I wasn't able to. But I actually think that was kind of fate, because later on I ended up getting a awesome film crew, these two lads named George and Kaylin, who were able to come with me this January and film just some beautiful stories, some very sad stories, but excellent quality, excellent film style, and a full documentary that we're doing in South Africa. So it was about a year ago that I heard about this, and it's just been kind of ramping up.
And she's never gonna mention, I didn't watch the whole video, so let me not say that. But it's just funny that in these statements, you never hear anything about the apartheid and the wickedness that they were done to those Hamites. And the funny thing is that the Hamites, all the people that helped Esau, Edom, take down the Israelites and hide their history and cover it up, which is the reason why that's Psalms 83. They're all mentioned by race. It seems that all the nations that helped Esau are really getting messed up by Esau and or are turning on Esau. Mainly Ham and Ishmael. Okay? Mainly Ham and Ishmael. Because those people, those Palestinians and those Ishmaelites in the Middle East right now are getting messed up. And those Hamites in North Africa are getting messed up. And really bad, man. And now these Edomites down in South Africa are getting messed up. They're getting slaughtered, man. Daily, every day.
As we go, it's been really accelerating the problems there, the government rhetoric, the murders. But we'll get into that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very different and sort of heartbreaking thing for me to see. I was there in 1972 when I was 6. And I was then again there in 1982 when I was 16. And it was one of these places, and it seems to follow this general pattern in the world that the better the climate, the worse the politics. It's just kind of this horrible trade-off that you have to have. And
there was no worse politics than the ones that was propagated here in America against the so-called black man. All right, the so-called black man, and basically, and natives and Latinos started from 1681, when the white race was created and was basically allowed a front of the line privileges in anything and everything. All right, and started that racial hatred, tension, and separation, man. All right, so that was in the laws that were put in place that didn't allow people of color to purchase property, to purchase firearms, to purchase gunpowder, to purchase land, or any of that, which allow a great wealth disparity, and a super advantage and head start for the so-called white race. And then they sit back and poke fun at you when you have nothing, and they haven't allowed you to have nothing. And then in the cases where so-called Negroes built up things here in America, they burned down the whole neighborhoods, man. Hell, they bombed the whole city in Tulsa, Oklahoma. All right?
It's relatively safe, although it was a jumpy white population. Whites, I think, at the moment are, what, 8% of the population? Yeah. And you do have this problem of violence and tribalism and a massive amount of hatred towards whites, which is more common, I think, than people think.
And that's worldwide.
And all of this coalesces.
That's not just in South Africa.
A pretty horrendous situation where whites are trapped either because they can't get out, they can't get their money out, or because they feel, of course, in the case of the farmers, tied to the land. So,
hey, so like I read that scripture, it's definitely falling upon them. The curses are falling upon the so-called white man. All right, you Israelites out there, this should actually lift your spirits, man.
And to their traditions and the history of their people.
Right. Well, something that a lot of people don't understand about South Africa is it doesn't have the same colonial history that a lot of other places do.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Did you hear this? Okay, let's go.
The whites, when they came there, they were the Dutch. Hundreds and hundreds of years ago, they settled on, I believe it was the west side of the Great Fish River. And the only people there before them were this native kind of group. The only people,
the people that lived there are from there. When do you have the right? Let's get a quick scripture. This is Proverbs. Is it Proverbs 28? Yeah. Let's run to the book of Proverbs 22 and 28. It says, remove not the ancient landmark which thy fathers have set. So you can't come and set up shop in someone else's backyard. If someone owns, 500 acres of land, and then they have 30 acres of wooded area that they never go to, even if they had 100 acres of wooded area that they never go to, that is on their property, all right, and it's heavily wooded, and then one day while they out surveying their property, they happen to see some smoke going up, so they walk into the forest and the wooded area on their property and find that somebody then tore down their trees and built a log cabin, and I settled it. You're not using it anyway. So the pride of these Edomites, man. That's why I said the proud is going to be brought down. That pump, man. Another scripture, man. This is Isaiah 14. These aren't even the scriptures that I had set up. These are just coming out, you know, through the Spirit. 14 and 11. Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and thy noise and the noise of thy vows, the worm is spread under thee, and worms cover thee. And you better believe, man, worms are covering the bodies of these Edomites because they're getting macheted up, you know, and they getting murdered, raped, killed, and getting their property taken away from them, and rightfully so, man. All right, because hey, they took the so-called white man took everything on this planet by great violence. Nothing is built. Nothing, no country, no land, no city is built without violence, man. And no city, no country, no land goes down without violence.
The San and the Khoi people, which today, they're not the politicians in South Africa. They're not the ones who really own the land. In fact, if you speak to a Bantu black person, that's the majority of the black South African population, they see the San and the Khoi people as just a sub-race. Like, they don't even see them as, they just like make fun of them. They're very racist towards them. So the whites, for the most part, were there.
You know, they're just like European whites are very racist toward American whites, man. American whites are very racist toward Canadian whites. But that's got nothing to do, that's none of my business, man. That's an in-house, in-family problem. The scripture says, meddle not in another man's affairs.
Almost before the Zulus came down, who are the high representation in the ANC, the EFF, and all of the political parties, claiming they had the land first. Completely inaccurate. The Dutch settlers have been there hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. These are farms that go back 8, 9 generations. They are very tied to that land. And now you've got...
Okay. If you were a sovereign king, all right, and someone came in and murdered your family, all right, and sat on the throne, and the only reason that they were accepted, the people were accepted on the throne, man, is because the people didn't know that you were still alive. And then you die, but the people find out and learn that you have heirs that live. Is it not theirs? Like I said, the pompous, the arrogancy of the wickedness of the so-called white man is just unbelievable, man. And as you see, his woman is not getting the pass, man. Because, you know, they can be just as wicked, and it's, hey.
If people don't know, it's Nelson Mandela's party, the ANC. They are saying this whole kind of Black Lives Matter-esque rhetoric, but they're actually running the government in South Africa. This land belongs to us. It is ours, the black South Africans. So you have to give it to us. And they're actually going to be taking white land without compensation. They announced. So
enough said, man. If you can't see that this is the end of the rulership and the reign of the so-called white man, you know, you just going to go down with them. Right, so let's just, that was enough. Let's just get into the scriptures. Let's go heavy in. First scripture I'm going to is Isaiah 33 and 1. And it reads, Woe to thee that spoilest, and thou was not spoiled, and dealest treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee. When thou shalt cease to spoil, thou shalt be spoiled. And when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee. And these Hamites are dealing very treacherously with these Edomites. Okay? I've watched a couple different videos that this woman has put up, this Lauren Southern. And, you know, and then Stephen Melano is just a damn devil, man. He'll you know, he's just a straight up what they refer to as a racist. All right. He clearly does not like people of color, especially the Negro. All right. The so-called Negro. And there is a difference between an African and a Negro, by the way, for you know, anyone who might be new. They are not the same people, man. Because I am not doing this because I'm rooting for the Africans. Those damn Hamites sold my people, man. All right? They sold my people into the Grecians, into these red pill faces you see on the screen, man. All right? Because they teach in schools that black people sold black people. That's a lie. Africans were selling Israelites. Two different dark races of people. That's fact. You need to start reading and look some stuff up. Let's go to the book of Habakkuk. And this is Habakkuk 2:8. Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all of the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for violence of the land and the city and all that dwell therein. All right? Woe to him that coveteth and evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, and that he may be delivered from the power of evil. So the so-called white man was living high and mighty over there, you know, for many generations, man. While the people of the land were suffering on their own land, man. And now these people are rising up to take their land back, and they're taking it back with great violence, man. And they're even using the law to just eject them off the land. Because all those towns right here in America, when Negroes were, when Israelites were lynched and murdered, like in the town of Elaine, right here in Chicago, in the Black Belt riots, when they built the Dan Ryan right through it, and the remnant of all those big old gray stones and brownstones that was all owned by Israelites, by so-called Negroes. You know, they burned that neighborhood to the ground, man. They burned down Black Wall Street. They even used military planes. They bombed Tulsa, Oklahoma, man. All right? And then they torched and burned, raped and murdered also down in Rosewood. And it happened, I believe that was the summer of 1919. If I'm not mistaken, it was called the Bloody Summer, man. All right? And all those people who left those places, they never got their properties back. The people who fled for their lives, those lives got absorbed, so that means that the judges, the politicians, all allowed it to happen and wrote up the paperwork and did whatever needed to be necessary to allow the white people to live on and own those properties now. That's just fact, man. All right, and now it's coming back on you. It's as simple as that. Let's get Nahum. Go to the book of Nahum, right next door to Habakkuk here. This is Nahum 3, all right? Even though this is really talking about here in America, but this is also talking about just the things that the so-called white man has done. All right, it says, woe to the bloody city. It is full of lies and robbery, and the prey departeth not. And so now here in South Africa, the prey is raising up against you, man, which has always been the fear of the so-called white man, of retribution, because they know they've done wrong. They know they've done wrong, and they've always have been afraid of retribution. Why do you think they don't allow the people to own firearms, man? All right, you know, so-called Negroes and Native Americans, man, they want to allow them to own firearms, right? This is Psalms 140 and verses 1 and 2. Deliver me, O Yahawah, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man, which imagine mischiefs in their hearts. Continually are they gathered together for war. And that's what the so-called white man does, man. But now that war is coming down upon him, at least over there. Matter of fact, not just in South Africa, but look what's happening in the Middle East, man. World War III has begun, man. Okay? And it's just a matter of time before that same sort of violence and sentiment hits America and around the world. And I'm going to finish with this group of scriptures here. This is Ecclesiasticus, or the book of Sirach, 41, and I'm going to read verse 6 through 10, all right? And before I read that, I think, now see, now these scriptures, they just popping in my head, man. Now it's coming, now it's, this is, this is Nahum 1 and 9, man. because I don't see these Edomites coming back from this. But and nevertheless, it's really talking about the downfall of them worldwide, because this is how Satan has fallen from heaven. And Satan means human adversary, and heaven is rulership. So the so-called white man, who is Satan, is fallen from heaven, which is rulership. This is it for him. This is his last hurrah. This is Nahum 1:9. What do ye imagine against Yahawah? He will make an utter end. Affliction shall not rise up the second time. So this is it, man. You've afflicted the people and people for the last time, man. All right. This is Sirach 41 verse 6. And it reads, the inheritance of sinners' children shall perish, and their posterity shall be a perpetual reproach. That's why these people that she was speaking of has been in their families for 9 generations. Their children got to flip the bill now, man, because the Lord is long suffering. Verse 7, the children will complain of an ungodly father, because they shall be a reproach for his sake. And they are. And that's what they're always screaming. I wasn't there and I didn't do it. I would never do that. My best friend is a Mexican. My best friend is a Negro. They start with that stuff. All right. No, the Lord deals with whole nations, man. And you people have to pay. All right. Verse 8. Woe be unto you, ungodly men, which have forsaken the law of the Most High Power. And for if you increase, it shall be to your destruction. And those South Africans were actually doing well once upon a time. And now they're decreasing. All right. They can't even sleep at night, man. You got people coming through their windows, hacking them to death with machetes and taking the spoil of their houses and ravishing their wives and daughters, man. All right. Verse 9. And if ye be born, ye shall be born to a curse. And if you die, a curse shall be your portion. So that's it for the so-called white man. So with that, I'm going to give all thanks, glory, and praises to Yahawah Shem Yahawashi and Abba Ball.